We get the Moonblast attack drop, then send out Golurk, looking to get a running start. Golurk tanks the drill run, back out comes Malamar with only one Protect Shield too hard behind, so we're going to force him. The Dynamic Punch does the opponent. Respect the damage. Welcome back to the channel. We're back at it today with a second upload, testing out 3 new buff Pokemon. The star of the show is without a doubt Shadow Golruk. This Pokemon has been buffed all over the place this season. His quick moves of Mud Slap and Astonish have both been buffed, and Shadow Punch is now a pretty good move. I personally have opted for Mud Slap due to the prevalence of Clodsire in the meta and other poison types, and we're going with Dynamic Punch for coverage. Rounding the team off, we've got Clefable. Clefable is a Pokemon I hadn't got built for Great League, so I thought it's been buffed, why not build one? Rounding the team off, we've got Qwilfish. I actually caught this Qwilfish at 1498 CP, and it's actually a wild rank 1 catch. If that doesn't tell you need to build it, what does? Without any further ado, let's get into the battles. And in game 1, we see the battle of the cute pink Pokemon. Clefable this season has been buffed, gaining access to Swift, giving it a much needed bait move. However, I certainly would not recommend baiting with a Swift in this matchup, as Ghost does double resist normal. I fire off the Moonblast, rocking Jellicent below half health. The opponent returns fire with the Shadow Ball. I am going to commit to the next Moonblast, looking to force this energy. As if I would have thrown a Swift, the opponent could have committed to a full Hex farm down, and that would have got quite problematic. We send out Golurk. Golurk gets a very nice free Mud Slap running start, and out comes the ever annoying Marshmallow Wigglytuff. We fire off the Dynamic Punch. The opponent shows no respect, near get one shot. We pivot into Qwilfish, and out comes Altaria. The opponent still with 2 Protect Shields, too hard beyond. Am I going to bait? Of course I'm not. Ice Beam goes unshielded. Get that Altaria off my screen. We Poison Sting farm down Wigglytuff, and we're off to a 1-0 start. GG's. In the next battle, we see Malamar in the lead. The opponent safe switches into Gastrodon. I am going to look to either force a Protect Shield or do massive damage. We land the Moonblast. I can then pivot into Golurk. The opponent has enough for a Water Pulse or Earth Power, so I'm going to go for the 1 shield and Mud Slap farm down. Malamar re-enters the battlefield. Dynamic Punch is only slightly worse DP, but is going to do objectively more damage, so I force in the Dynamic Punch, anticipating the no shield, and the opponent has already found himself very deep in the red. Foul play will secure the knockout, and we find ourselves in a 2v1 situation. I send out Qwilfish, and out comes Clodsire. This is one of the reasons I think Qwilfish is now going to be a very top meta threat. Despite the opponent having access to Earthquake, we do resist the Poison Stings, and we're far spammier to these stab Aqua Tails. We correctly shield up the Earthquake. The opponent still with 2 Protect Shields, too hard behind. Qwilfish going to be spamming out Aqua Tail after Aqua Tail. I'm going to keep farming up energy, and then look to catch back onto Clefable. The opponent fires off the Earthquake. Clefable is able to reach the Swift, and this now gives me a win con. With this Swift damage, the opponent will be in Aqua Tail range. We've just got to be mindful of the opponent trying to make a catch. I'm going to fire off the first Aqua Tail immediately. When I reach the second, I am going to pause, anticipating the opponent trying to make the catch. There's the attempted catch. We Poison Sting farm down Malamar, leave with the next Aqua Tail, and that is going to be all she wrote. GG's to that opponent. In the next battle, we see the buff variant of Shadow Sabeye, a Pokemon I cannot wait to try out myself. Type advantage is very much with us, however Sabeye can more than hold its own against fairies as long as they're not using Charm. I shield up the Power Gem, I'm then going to overfarm, fire off the Moonblast, guaranteeing my Protect Shield back or securing the knockout. This Fairy Wind damage has now put the opponent into Aqua Tail range, so Clefable has done its job, and you can see the power of Sabeye, able to win the 1 shield going straight Power Gem. I send out Qwilfish. I'm going to overfarm just by 1 and fire off the Aqua Tail. Aqua Tail does secure the knockout. Out comes a silly electric fish, not the matchup we're looking for, so I pivot into Golurk, baiting out Metachan. Counter this season has received a nerf to its energy generation, so it's now going to take him 7 counters to the Ice Punch. I do respect the damage. The opponent like a savage bait with a double resisted power up punch. Trainer, I've got a family. The opponent gives me the final Protect Shield with the Shadow Punch. I did go for an undercharge, anticipating the no shield. However, this now allows me to overfarm before firing off the Shadow Punch, removing them from the field of play. Back out comes Lantern. We fire off the Shadow Punch. The opponent's now received the energy for a Surf, so I'm going to catch back onto Qwilfish. The Surf doesn't do much, but these Sparks are going to start tearing through my HP. All moves are resisted. I fire off the Aqua Tail. The opponent looking for that Spark farm down, but rank 1 Qwilfish is like, nah, reaches the next Aqua Tail, and we're going to be able to take that game. GG's, and thanks for playing. In the next battle, we found ourselves somewhat of a core breaker in the form of the Kentucky Fried Chicken Bird of Death. I throw one Fairy Wind, transfer the Incinerate to Qwilfish, baiting out Gastrodon. This is by no means a good matchup for Qwilfish. However, we should be able to fire off two Aqua Tails and put them into a range where I can Fairy Wind farm them down and leave with residual energy to threaten the return in Talonflame. The opponent fires off the Body Slam, get one further Mud Slap. That's a nice farm down for Clefable. Fairy Wind has been buffed this season and it's going to come in clutch here. I think last season this would be a very problematic farm down, but you can see these Fairy Winds are starting to chunk. We do commit to the full Fairy Wind farm down. We don't get hit with a second Body Slam when Talonflame does return. We're going to fire off two Fairy Winds and the Swift for optimal fast move timing. When using a 2-turn move into a 5-turn move, you ideally want to throw 2 quick moves or 7. Again, we fire off two Fairy Winds and the next Swift. The opponent looking for that full Incinerate farm down, but Clefable just refusing to die, throwing Swift after Swift. The opponent still refusing to throw. Clefable makes one further Swift. My god, Clefable. Take a chill pill. We send out Golurk. The opponent at like 300 energy. I've got zero idea why they didn't throw. And out comes the world's smallest Gator. Regardless if this Pokemon was big, small or medium, Golurk gonna have enough in the tank to sweep the back line. GG's. In the next battle this time we see Gastrodon in the lead. Gastrodon essentially going to be the Quagsire of Season 20 on 95% of teams. The opponent throws the Body Slam as soon as they get it, which is really poor timing. They should have thrown an odd number, as they would have only given me one free turn. Instead, they give me a full free Fairy Wind, which is going to allow Clefable to cleanly win the Zero Shield, as we're going to reach the Swift on the charge attack priority. Clefable does win lead. Out comes Clodsire, so we're going to pivot into Qwilfish, not giving the opponent a huge energy lead. We've already seen in a previous battle, this spiky little pufferfish doesn't do too bad into PvPoke's #1 ranked pick due to our heavy pacing advantage. I am going to respect the Earthquake, which we correctly shield. This is where you're going to see the speed of Qwilfish. We're going to be able to outpace the two further Aqua Tails before the opponent reaches their second Earthquake. The first one forces the Protect Shield. If this second one goes unshielded, I've already decided I'm going to save my final shield for Golurk, as I'm unable to Poison Sting farm this down. Earthquake picks up that one hit KO. I'll wait out my timer, ensuring I've got Clefable as a potential sack swap. Golurk gets the Mud Slap farm down, the opponent sends out Machamp and instantly concede the match. GG's. In the next battle, we see Clefable into Malamar, the opponent safe switches into Dunsparce. As I wasn't quick on the response, I didn't want to send out Golurk, which would resist the rollouts, but we wouldn't be able to survive 2 drill runs, so at this stage I've just committed to staying in. We're going to fire off the Moonblast. Moonblast forces a Protect Shield. You can tell by the damage the first drill run did that Clefable will be able to tank the second and reach one further Moonblast, which I'm anticipating the opponent no shielding, as they're already down one Protect Shield. Moonblast does go unshielded and we get the attack drop, so we send out Golurk looking to get a running start. You can see that even a debuff drill run does a reasonable amount of damage as Golurk is insanely glassy. Back out comes Malamar. The opponent already down one Protect Shield, so he falls in the Dynamic Punch. Dynamic Punch gets no respect, near one shot on the opponent, and we're able to Mud Slap farm down before they even reach a charge move. Out comes Tentacruel. Tentacruel not going to appreciate the Shadow Punch. Shadow Punch and the Mud Slaps get him down to around 60% HP. We send out Qwilfish with a 2-to-1 shield advantage. The opponent recognises the game's over and concede the match. In the next battle, we see Tropius in the lead. I think this Pokemon's going to be a sleeper pick this season. He got access to Brutal Swing, which only costs 35 energy. Tropius has a lot of bulk and it now gives it the ability to hit stuff like Steel types for at least neutral damage. I am going to commit to the next Moonblast. The opponent going to throw the next Charger. I'm hoping to survive and get off the Moonblast, but unfortunately Leaf Blade does secure the knockout, but that's okay, as this sets up Qwilfish for an aggressive Poison Sting farm down. I'm really liking the buff to Poison Sting this season, giving you the ability to actually farm stuff down. This isn't even a Shadow Pokemon. I'm used to using Shadow Poison Sting users, but even Qwilfish has got quite a lot of fast move pressure. Out comes Bastiodon. We chip him with the Aqua Tail, pivot into Golurk. Trainer, you need to pivot. I'm anticipating this being like some kind of double steel team. Of course we're going to shield up the Flamethrower. The opponent actually has got a very good Golurk counter in the form of Feraligatr. So this is the early ranks. What the opponent should have done is as soon as I sent out Golurk, send out Gator. However, the opponent didn't do that and they've now given me a huge energy lead, which is going to allow me to be a Feraligatr counter confirmed. Usually this wouldn't be the case, but I'm not complaining. GG's to that opponent. Heading into the next battle, We see another trainer using Shadow Golruk. Let's go. Of course, we want to keep this far away from Qwilfish. Although in fairness, an Aqua Tail would hit for super effective, but my god, we're not going to appreciate the Shadow Mud Slap damage. The opponent fires off the Shadow Punch, we return fire with the Moonblast, getting the attack drop, and we're then going to pivot into the mirror. Despite me getting the attack drop, I'm still going to shield the Shadow Punch. A Shadow and Shadow Crime, I have no doubt that would still pick up the one-hit KO. The opponent gives me a very nice Mud Slap farm down, and then send out Shadow Zapdos. We fire off 3 Mud Slaps and the Shadow Punch. The opponent's now got the energy for the Drill Peck. They could have looked to take me out or force the final shield. On the charge attack priority, they actually take the extra, allowing me to remove them from the field of play. Out comes the basic Bitch Tin Can, and the opponent concedes the match. In the next battle, we see a very yikes lead with Alolan Marowak. This is actually my friend Give Me The Dub. I swear I play him like every season, and he always seems to hard counter me. I'm just kidding, buddy. However, why do you have to lead a fire type into my fairy? He forces a Protect Shield, then sends out Gator. I throw the next Aqua Tail on the CMP side to a potential crunch, at least forcing a shield back. Things do look rough, but baiting out Gator might give me a win con. With this out of the way, I'm hoping that Golurk can sweep the back line. We get off the next Aqua Tail for some very much needed chip damage, but this Gator has so much energy, giving the dub farms up, one short of the double Hydro Cannon. So I'm going to have to tank this and throw the Swift immediately, as we would lose CMP. As soon as this Gator goes down, I'm going to spam the switch, hoping Golurk core breaks the remainder of the team. I send out Golurk. Do we core break? Certainly we don't. Have you ever seen Water Shriekings do so much damage? Give Me The Dub's now doubled up on charge moves. We force the opponent's final Protect Shield with the Shadow Punch bait. There literally is no win con. He fires off the Night Slash, removing me from the field of play. I've got no idea why I'm staying in now, just because he's my friend to be honest, and he's wasting my time, so I thought why not waste his. He goes for the Night Slash bait, he loves to bait me, and I always no shield. However, the next Night Slash, despite being resisted, is going to pick up the dub, and I'm going to get you next time, buddy. Look out. Heading into the next battle. We see Clefable into Azumarill. I personally have never used Clefable before. I just built it this season. However, I have seen my friend King GBL use it quite a lot. I believe last season, the opponent would be able to survive 2 Moonblasts and the Fairy Winds. However, this matchup has now changed as Fairy Wind is doing more damage, allowing you to cleanly win the Zero Shield. In an ideal world, I'd actually like the opponent to commit a Protect Shield, giving me shield advantage as we've got a very good wall to all of this energy in the form of our Qwilfish. The opponent shields the Moonblast. I commit to the next Moonblast, looking to force some of this energy rather than giving the opponent all the farm in the world. Qwilfish does resist everything, but it's pretty glassy, so ideally we only want to tank one charge move. The opponent fires off the Ice Beam, they then pivot out into Mandibars, and I'm very grateful to see this on the battlefield now, as Golurk isn't going to fancy the work. Mandibars is a Pokemon I usually call a bulky vulture. However, Qwilfish with a very high attack stat, easily able to two-shot with Ice Beams. I commit a Protect Shield, shielding up the foul play, and again I'm looking for that kill shot, firing off the next Ice Beam. Ice Beam forces the opponent's final Protect Shield, and I am going to match. I can out overfarm before firing off the Ice Beam, securing the knockout. The opponent takes advantage of the 50-second switch timer, try and catch the Ice Beam onto Azumarill, and I commit to the full Poison Sting farm down and leave at 100 energy. Back out comes Mandibars, Ice Beam, picks up that one-hit KO, and out comes Froslass. Oof, this looks a bit dicey. 2 Aqua Tails aren't going to be lethal. We're going to need to reach 3. I bank the Aqua Tail for the road, try and catch the Avalanche onto Golurk unsuccessfully, but the opponent allows me to get off enough Mod Slap damage to put them into Aqua Tail range, which we've got banked, and we are going to emerge victorious. GG's, and thanks for playing. In the next battle, we see Machamp in the lead, the absolute dream lead. The opponent say switches into Golurk. I switch out into the mirror, but I am behind by 1 turn. I am going to shield up the Shadow Punch. I was anticipating my good IVs allowing me to get the Mud Slap farm down, but we actually don't, and we Simul KO and die with a whole heap of energy. However, we have got 2 answers for Machamp. I send out Qwilfish, again out comes Froslass. This isn't fantastic. Qwilfish going to need to do a lot of heavy lifting. I'm already down 1 Protect Shield, so there really is no reason for the opponent to bait. But we're going to play to that win con. The opponent throws the Triple Axle, which is a huge mistake. This very much puts me back in the game. Qwilfish fires off the next Aqua Tail on the CMP type, forcing a Protect Shield. I know this is only a Triple Axle, but I am going to shield this, knowing I am going to outpace the 2 further Aqua Tails. We just need to be mindful of the opponent making a catch, which would put them back in the game. I fire off the first Aqua Tail, we then throw the next one on the CMP tie. The opponent doesn't make that catch. As soon as we move on the field of play, I'm going to pivot out into Clefable. We're going to be able to outpace to the Moonblast, and this is probably going to kill this Machamp and every Machamp that's ever entered the Go Battle League. GG's. In the next battle, we see Golurk in the lead. Nice to keep this thing away from Qwilfish. I think this would be an easy bait opportunity, but I've got no intentions of baiting. We are going to tank the Shadow Punch and then look to fire off the Moonblast. The opponent actually pivots out into Dunsparce. I don't know why, I always get so confused by the rollout animation. I throw that charge move at absolute potato time and giving the opponent a full free rollout. I see a lot of people complain about the rollout animation. I don't know why. I visually throw my charge moves. So I look at the opponent's animation. As it's ending, I hit my charge move. I've got no idea why I cannot do that a rollout. I think to get around that, I need to count my own quick moves and just throw out 1, 4 or 7. Me and my opponent running very similar teams as they send out Clefable. They tank the first Shadow Punch, then pivot out into Golurk. We fire off the Shadow Punch, forcing a Protect Shield. Qwilfish can take this out of an Aqua Tail, but the issue is I don't think we're going to survive the Mud Slap damage particularly well. The opponent's done a very good job of throwing an alignment. As soon as they get their charges, I take the opportunity to make a catch. However, Qwilfish is getting eaten alive. We throw the Aqua Tail, which forces the Protect Shield. We're not even going to reach the next one, and we're going to take a heartbreaking loss. GG's to that opponent. In the next battle, we see Dusnoir in the lead. I built this thing for Ultra League last season when it was ranked like 800. The buff to both Astonish and Shadow Punch have ranked this thing in the top 20 in Ultra League, so I'm super hyped to test that one out. This is my first Dusnoir sighting of the season. Golurk, of course, wants to keep well away from it. We force a protection with a Moonblast. I'm going to tank this next Shadow Punch, commit to the next Moonblast, but unfortunately get Astonish farmed down. Of course, we're just going to send out Qwilfish. This Aqua Tail won't be lethal, but should put him into Poison Sting farm down range afterwards. I'm not going to shield this. We're going to put it all on Golurk. This Shadow Punch does some reasonable chip damage. We are going to leave low, but with residual energy, good to go. The opponent now sends out Gastrodon. I'm going to fire off the Aqua Tail, force some chip damage, and I need to pivot. To my surprise, the opponent gives up that final Protect Shield, so it is 2 shield Golurk time. The opponent commits to the Earth Power, but we reach the Dynamic Punch on the CMP tie. Dynamic Punch picks up that 1-hit KO. Out comes Tropius. The opponent recognises the game's over and concedes the match. GG's to that opponent and a very cool triple buff team. So that is going to wrap things up for today's video. If you haven't tried Shadow Golruk, my god, give it a try, as this thing is now no longer a meme pick, but a top meta threat. I think Clefable more than held its own, although I did think it was somewhat underwhelming. I think that's because I'm a trainer that doesn't like to bait often, and I was just YOLO and Moonblast essentially at everything. However, if you're a trainer that likes to bait a lot, perhaps you'll enjoy it more than me. Qwilfish, I actually think, is a very, very good this season. It is so spammy. It's got high attack stats, then Poison Stings are doing a lot of damage, and I think in limited metas, stuff like Battle Frontier, it's going to be a monster. So if you're enjoying the content, smash that like button. If you're new, consider subscribing if you like your battles featured on my channel. A link to my battle submission form is down below. And as always, a huge thank you to everyone for watching, and I'll see you all in the next one.